Hey everyone, welcome to the first video in our brand new series, The Attributes of God. We're going to be looking at different ways that Scripture describes God, and we'll use those descriptions to see what they teach us about God and about ourselves. Our first attribute of God comes from Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 to 4. Moses saw a bush burning but not consumed, and in the midst of the bush, the angel of the Lord stood. And now this is important. The angel of the Lord appeared to Moses in the form of a man. So when the Lord spoke to Moses, he said, "I have surely seen your affliction and the oppression of Israel under the Egyptians. Come now, therefore, and I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt." Now there's a lot we could say about this passage, but for the purposes of this video, notice what it says here in verse 4. And Moses said, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" Moses didn't think he was worthy of the task God had set before him. Probably thought he was important enough or strong enough to do what God had called him to do. But God said, "I will be with you," Exodus 3:12. Even though Moses didn't feel worthy, even though he didn't feel like he was good enough or smart enough or strong enough, God told him, "You can do this because I'm going to be with you." Friends, God calls us to do things that we aren't worthy of all the time. But we have to remember, we don't do these things in our own strength. We do them in the strength of the Lord who has called us and given us the assignment. We aren't called to do great things. We're called to live a life devoted to the one who has called us. We aren't saved by our own efforts. We're saved by grace through faith, and we aren't sustained by our own power. We're sustained by the power of the Lord who has called us. So who is this God who calls us to live devoted lives? Who is this God who calls us to do his work? Well, let's look at this passage again and see what it says about him. First, he is a God who reveals himself. In the Old Testament, God was revealed through dreams, visions, and the voices of prophets. But here in the book of Exodus, we see a new way that God reveals himself, and that's through his actions. When Israel was in slavery in Egypt, God revealed himself to Moses in a burning bush. That event started a chain reaction that led to Israel's deliverance and ultimately to the gospel message. God revealed himself to Moses in the bush, so that Moses would know who he was dealing with, so that there wouldn't be any doubt in his mind that it was God who had called him. Second, God is a God who speaks. In the Old Testament, God often spoke through the prophets, and here we see him speaking through a burning bush. This is the first time we see God actually speak in the Bible, but he'll speak more through the prophets, through the Psalms, and ultimately through his Son. Finally, God is a God who acts. Look again at verse 2. It says, "And the angel of the Lord appeared in a flame of fire in the midst of the bush. And Moses, when he saw it, wondered." God didn't just stand in the bush, he acted in the bush. He caused the bush to burn. So when Moses saw this, it got his attention. This event was something out of the ordinary. It was something that caused him to wonder, why is this happening? God used that moment of wonder to get Moses' attention and call him to action. Well, that's all we're going to look at in this video. In future videos, we'll see how Scripture describes God. We'll see that he's a God who judges, a God who provides, a God who heals, and a God who reigns. So join us each week as we look at the attributes of God. Until next time.